Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the White Belt MMA podcast, and it's an absolute pleasure to have on the show today Alex Martinez, who's set to fight on June 17th against Clay Carl at PFL 4. So, Alex Martinez, man, how you doing, my man? Because last time I saw you, I was at Syndicate, and I almost broke my head in the weight room. But yeah, Alex, how's everything? How's everything been?
Hey, what's up, man? So, everything has been good, and then I didn't catch the part where you almost broke your head, so that's cool, Things been good, man. Training camp is training camp. It's always tough. It's never easy. There are days where you're on top of the world, and there are days where you're on the bottom of the world. You have to work your way up. So it's a training camp, and yeah, man. Just preparing for everything. Yeah, I'm excited for this fight. It should be a good one.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. And, especially after your last one against Stevie Ray, man, starting the season off real strong. So, especially talk to me a little bit about the move to Syndicate, right? Because, has that always been, the typical process for you to go to Syndicate? You're originally from Canada. So you usually do your camps at Syndicate MMA, or was it kind of like a process that, like, throughout the fight, you're like, okay, I think Syndicate MMA might be the best choice to go on for my career?
Well, it all kind of came together in a kind of like a turn of events in a way, like circumstances happen, and then so I ended up here in Syndicate. So pretty much what happened was COVID hit, and then I was 7-0 as a fighter, and I was trying to look into to fight a fight. Of course, we all as a fighters are looking to get into the UFC Contender Series. I had an issue. I couldn't get into the Contender Series. They already offered me Contender Series for 2021, I believe it was. And then, no, my bad, for 2020. Yeah, 2021, because it was right after I got my 7-0 victory. But I couldn't make it to the US due to visa issues and stuff like that. Anyway, so things happen. And then one day I decided to just, take a little holiday with my wife. The pandemic in Canada was pretty rough. So it was like a training holiday. So what we did was we borrowed a camper from our mother and father-in-law, my wife's side, and then we just went and started like hitting gyms from there. So we just pretty much went from Grand Prairie, Alberta, which is a small town up in Canada. Alberta is the province, and so we just went down into like the areas of Vancouver. So I went and trained there with my good buddy Cajun Johnson. And then one day I just decided with my wife, hey, why don't we go to Victoria Island? So Victoria Island is just across Vancouver, which is a beautiful place. If people don't know, it's a must-check place, I think, anyways, it's very beautiful. So we ended up going there, and there is a really well-known coach there. It's actually not that very well-known, but if you're in the MMA world in Canada, you would know his name. He's just like, how you say, he's almost like a wizard, right? His name is Adam Zucek. He's well known for his just his little details that he puts into fighters and implements to fighters. One of his big prospects was Sarah Kaufman, and then he had another big ones too coming out of that. I just don't remember their names right now really well. But anyway, so I went and trained with him, and the first thing that he said is like, "Dude, you're ready for the big shows," and I was like, "Oh, okay," kind of like thinking that okay, well, Contender Series is coming. He's like, "No, man, like you're ready for the big shows, like Like you're ready to go big, you should just go, like start taking fights after fight after fight, pretty much still you're using the UFC type of thing." And or whatever comes through, right? Anyway, so I had a talk with him, and the first thing he said to me was, you know what, you should go and train with my good friend, Coach John Wood in Syndicate Las Vegas. And then I'm like, well, I'll see. I was planning at the time to fight maybe for what's it called? It's in UAE Warriors, I think it's called. Is that right? Like UAE Warriors in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, I believe it was. So I was trying to fight that in like a few weeks from the time that I was there. And he said, well, just, pack your stuff and go to Vegas, go train with Coach John Wood. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll, probably do it sometime. Anyways, right after I left there, I get a call from my manager, which is Ruby Rubinstein, Daniel Rubinstein. So, and he said, hey, like PFL, they're looking for an alternate for the PFL tournament. And, right away, of course, it was a big opportunity. So we took the alternate spot. And things ended up happening, and then ended up, some fighter ended up dropping out, and then ended up jumping in to take his spot. Ended up fighting like Rajabov, in like I believe it was like a 19 days after they told me, right? No, like 20 something days because the 19 days was the bubble.
Mhm.
Anyway, so right after that, they got me all set up. I came to the US. I ended up fighting against Luke Rajapov, and then we have one more fight for the season. And they said, okay, any fighter that is from outside of the US must stay in the USA. So you have to find a place to train. So like you can go wherever you want. We'll kind of just take care of you, type of thing. So right away I realized, okay, well, I have two places where I can go. One of them could be Florida, where Sanford is, just because of
Mhm.
the big gym is well known, and the other one is Vegas because like I actually people just told me about it to go there,
Mhm.
and I call my manager. I call Coach Adam Zuchek, and since then I've been in Vegas, and I just enjoy it so much. I love the environment. I love the training. There's so much going on here. And it's a lot of fun. And yeah, so since then I stay in Vegas, and I just been going back and forth. Whenever I have a fight, I come here to do my camp, and then I go back, and I come here to just like up my game. Then I go back. So just yeah, so that's how pretty much I ended up here in Vegas.
No, yeah, 100%. And, a little bit like, obviously, I was visiting there last week. That's actually where, I actually met you in the weight room of Syndicate MMA. So, one thing about that, I saw being in that gym is just the amount of like, high caliber people that walk through those doors, especially, seeing you guys in pro practice and you guys just, going 100%. So like, in a way, do you feel like, being at that gym is like, if anything, kind of, bolster up your confidence, anytime you go into that cage, or kind of knowing that like, hey man, I'm going at it with the best in the world, so whatever comes at me in this cage is it's not gonna be anything compared to that when I go in through training camp and all those weeks getting ready for this fight.
Of course, man. Like there is a confidence that comes through just because that actually you're being checked every time. For example, I used to train all the time out of my small gym. I had great coaches, Bill Mahuera, my father, Luis Martinez, as well as Coach Adam Link, and they took care of me well. But at the same time, like I had to put myself in a lot of bad spots all the time in order for me to like be able to practice my technique, and that started to create like how you say bad habits. And
Mhm.
then when I came here, like I didn't have to start doing that anymore. Literally just because like these guys will put me in the spot whether I want it or not, and I had the chance to work on the things that I wanted to work on anyway. So there's a confidence right there that I actually right now I'm fully focusing on doing the right thing all the time, and and it's really improving my career and as a mixed martial artist. Technically, physically, everything, or mentally. And also just knowing that I can, swim with the big dogs too. That's really important. When you're from a small town, you don't really know how good you do because you don't get to test yourself. You come here and there's always great guys, great grapplers coming through, and like great strikers, jiu-jitsu, whichever you boxers, right? So whenever they come through, you get to test yourself and see, okay, like this is how good I am doing. This is how good I am. Of course, a fight is a fight, and there is a lot that goes into a fight. But in the end of the day, I'm here training every single day, good or bad day. If I have a bad day, I'm still here training and I still do good. So there's a confidence on it saying that it's okay, well, today was probably the worst day that I had in my life. And I still came here training and I did well. So in a fight, there's a lot of things that goes through, and we as fighters try to make the best as possible to make it the best day of our life so we can
Mhm.
perform to our highest potential. And so there is that part of it where you're confident that even if it is a bad day, you can still do well. So yeah, so there is a confidence with training high level guys.
100%. And this is a little bit of a fun question, random question, but obviously
Yeah,
for me,
man.
where I'm from, right? I'm from Massachusetts, not used to the super hot weather. So for you, especially you being from Paraguay, is the Vegas heat in the Paraguay like weather kind of around the same? You're like,
So
this is kind of the same thing. I'm not gonna complain about it, or is it kind of like, man, it's super hot in here?
yeah, man, it is super hot. So the big thing is I've been already in Canada for almost 13 years. So I'm used to more like the colder area than the actual heat, right? So
Mhm.
whenever I come to Vegas, it's like holy smokes, this reminds me of Paraguay. The
Mhm.
only difference is Paraguay is a little more humid, so that's
Yeah.
actually quite nice. Where Vegas is like a dry heat.
Mhm.
So if you're not drinking water, you're dehydrating and you're getting sick really easy. So yeah, it's actually not very tolerable to be honest. You have to do a lot of things just to be able to be comfortable.
Yeah.
But hey, man, it helps for the weight, so that's a plus, I guess. Um, yeah, no, it's my father. Whenever he comes, like he loves it. He's like Paraguay. He says, so I was like, okay, cool.
No, yeah, 100%. And obviously, I mean, just to kind of touch up on that, right? Like you said, you've been living in Canada for almost like 13 years. Obviously, you're from Paraguay. So, obviously a lot of things that I like, doing is like, and every time I get a fight on here, I always like to ask how they got into the sport, right? Some people, like you said, they stumble upon it. Other people, are getting through it through family. So I've kind of heard you say that, your dad was also a coach. So is that kind of how you got into the sport of MMA or just mixed martial arts in general? It's just because of your dad, because he was already doing it, or?
Yeah, in a way. So I grew up in the martial arts world. My dad is, a master in Taekwondo.
Mm,
So seventh degree master. And so he's been at it for a long time when it comes to Taekwondo. So I grew up with Taekwondo. It's a Taekwondo ITF from North Korea.
mm,
So it's a different one. It's not the one that you see in the Olympics, right? This is more of a traditional martial art.
mm,
Um, so anyway, so I grew up with that, and when we came to Canada, actually, we came with, my father came to teach martial arts, so he came
okay.
as an instructor to Canada. So that
Mm,
actually gave him the, how you say, the life change in his life.
mm,
So I pretty much grew up with martial arts. I was planning to start doing professional kickboxing. I wanted to do something more hard contact. I just thought that Taekwondo was good, but I knew that I had it in me to be a little bit rowdy. So
mm,
I was like, okay, well, you know what? I think I can actually use this something with a harder contact sport.
mm,
So, anyways, I started going to a boxing gym just to kind of like start seeing, where I can find a kickboxing gym so I can become a kickboxer. And then all of a sudden, Bill Mahoots comes by to the gym, and he just moved from a small town called Prince George into Grand Prairie,
mm.
and he started teaching MMA. So all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, you know what, like that might be something that I would like to do because I watched a video of Anderson Silva and I fell in love with the man. Like I just couldn't believe the things that he was pulling. So I was like, that was kind of like one of the reasons why I wanted to do kickboxing. And it's funny just because I saw the striking. But then part of me wanted to do MMA, but I was just too scared to do it just because of the ground game and all the stuff.
Mm.
But he really gave me the motivation to be able to actually jump in MMA and okay, I'm a striker only. I don't grapple much, so strikers can do good. So, anyways, the journey began there. So I ended up being Bill Mahood. I started my journey. I talked to my dad. My dad told me that it's a very tough lifestyle. It's not for anybody, but if I really want it, he will support me with it. And of course, I kind of had to show him first that I really wanted it, and then that's how it kind of started. So, we started competing. Things didn't go well in the first fight, but then after that, we just kind of like fell in love with it. We couldn't stop doing it, and yeah, from there we kept going, and the W's kept coming. So yeah, we've been there since.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I've also obviously seen at your record, you had a long and extensive amateur record, right? Because that's
Right.
something that I feel like I don't see a lot in MMA nowadays. It's like I feel like especially boxers, right? They go like through that amateur route, they get a bunch of fights, obviously you get the experience through there. So was that kind of your thought process that you're like, hey man, I'm gonna stay as amateur for as long as I can to kind of build up my game and then go pro whenever I feel like I'm like, I'm checking off the boxes on sorts of my games.
So like any fighter, you want to go pro right away. You like any fighter, when you're young, you believe you can make it to the UFC right away. So I wanted to jump right away into professional if I could and just start making my way up there. But this is something, a big blessing for my career is Coach Bill Mahood. He's like, no, man, like we have the opportunity to do amateur. We can do it as much as we want. Nobody cares whether you win or lose. This is a good experience for you. So he just got me into it. And yeah, so he pretty much like, whenever there was a fight, he threw my name on it. And then at the time, I was too scared to say no. So I say yes to every single fight. And then I ended up fighting way too much. And it was actually really good for me because, it got me to top of the world, to be honest. Like I'm a two-time IMMAF silver medalist for 2015, 2016. And yeah, so I ended up really learning, getting a lot of experience and learning how much grappling is important into MMA thanks to my amateur career. And then, yeah, so that's something that my coach Bill Mahout implemented on my mindset. Is like, get as many amateurs as possible, as much as you can, because experience is something you cannot get anywhere. Doesn't matter cage experience, doesn't matter how much you train in the gym. If you're not in the cage, you're not there fighting, then there's no point.
No, yeah, 100%. And how does he feel now seeing where you're at now, man? Because PFL, man, one of the top MMA organizations in the world. So like, conversations with him, how do they go? Like, is it just kind of one of those? It's like, hey, man, can you believe where you're at now compared to how you started?
Um, I think, I think he saw it in me that I had what it takes to be a fighter, to be honest, from the beginning.
Mhm.
Because he never turned me away. I saw him turning away a lot of fighters, but he never turned me away. So I think from the beginning he saw that I had something, that not many fighters had. He worked me to the bones, and I think that's what gave me such a hard work ethic nowadays for this sport, especially, right? So which is
Mhm.
very important to have. Sadly, no, he wasn't there in my last fight just because of restrictions from COVID and stuff like that. And he probably won't be able to be there for this next fight, but I'm sure he's very proud, and I'm proud to be able to carry on his legacy, to be honest, in a way, right? I mean, he's always in my heart, he's always in my head, so I always, think of him, and yeah, I'm sure he's really, really proud of how far his pupil has gone, right? And then, I mean, we're only starting, we're still young, so there's still a lot more to come. So yeah, we're excited.
100%, man. Yeah, just so yeah, man. So just fast forward to the present, right? Obviously, you said it right there, and we've mentioned it right off the start. Is June 17th against Clay Carr, right? And I'm not gonna ask for predictions because I'm personally not a fan when interviewers ask fighters for predictions. But for you, man, just in terms of like going into the fight, what are some stuff that like you want to implement and just show the crowd of what you've been working on, and like obviously not to give away your game plan, but for what you're most excited to showcase in there.
Well, I'm excited to showcase my striking more too. Like I have really good striking in the back pocket that I find it that I implement MMA so well sometimes that I'm all over the place. I'm up and down. I'm grappling. I'm not grappling. I'm striking. So I would like to strike a little more. Of course, Speckler, that's what he loves to do.
Mm.
He's also a good wrestler. So he has a very good background on wrestling and very good boxer. So man, I'm just gonna go and be myself. Like I just wanna have a good time, and of course, go ahead and get the victory. So man, I'm an opportunist. I take whatever. I have submissions, I have knockouts, I have everything. So when I go to fight, it's always look for the path of less resistance in
Mm.
a good way to to finish the fight as fast as possible, right? But at the same time, this is one of those guys where you have to plan for 3-round fight. This is one of those guys where just to get him out of there, it's not very simple. But at the same time, I think I have what it takes to be able to get it done.
100%, man. 100%. So yeah, man, Alex, again, man, I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate the time, and like I said off camera, you're a busy guy, so I don't want to keep you too long. So before we go, do you want to plug in all your social medias for everyone watching can go and follow you?
Yeah, so my social media, I don't use Twitter as much. I should probably start getting into that. But my Instagram is M Martinez, almost like MMA, but M Martinez _ Alex. So yeah, that's it. You guys can follow me there and then see my journey. And yeah, I gotta start getting more into posting more. I'm getting better, but still lots to work.
No, for real, man. So again, Alex, appreciate the time. Hopefully we can do this again in the future. So again, like I said, I'll be rooting for you. I'm hyped for you.
Thank
And
you, brother.
yeah, guys, everyone watching, man, June 17th, make sure to tune in and support Alex. So again, Alex, thank you. And to everyone watching, peace.